Greetings from Costa Rica, and thank you very much for joining me for this live Costa Rica Real Estate Forum. We're here to take any and all questions that you, our viewers, have about any particular Costa Rica real estate listing that you'd like to ask me about. My name is Matt Rosensteel. I'm owner-broker of Coldwell Banker Pacific Realty in Playa Junquial, Guanacaste. We're about 30 minutes south of Playa Tamarindo. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to do so. I give straightforward information about moving to Costa Rica, real estate, and really my goal is to empower anybody considering an investment in Costa Rica with more information so that you can make wise decisions. Every Thursday at noon, we have my live chat. We go over real estate listings submitted by viewers like you, both live in the chat and later on in the comments so that we can answer any specific questions that people have. We've just started this series. We're going to keep it going here every Thursday. I'll look forward to seeing you at noon Costa Rica time, which is the same as CST right now. Again, my name is Matt Rosensteel. Today, we've got a few listings we're going to cover since it's just a new series now. We have a condo at the Breakwater Complex down in Jaco. We have, and we also have two different properties that are my own listings that I want to talk about to sort of get some exposure and also really just go over information that is relevant to them that I think is going to empower people to make their own better decisions. Without further ado, let's get rolling with this Costa Rica Real Estate Forum. Be sure to post your listing in the comments if you'd like me to give any feedback on what I think about it. Stay tuned. Our first listing in today's Costa Rica Real Estate Forum is a condo in the Breakwater Complex in Jaco down in Punta Arenas. I have to admit, I would have really liked to get, I want David Carr to come back on my channel, the owner in Jaco, so that he can really focus and give us some more specific advice about the Breakwater building. But I wanted to comment generally on Jaco. But first and foremost, remember, folks, as we're watching this, if you're watching at home, you can pull up the listing that we are talking about by bringing out your phone, changing it to the camera function, and facing your camera at the QR code. Your camera will pick up the link, and you can tap that on your phone to bring up the listing profile that we are all looking at. I have a feeling some of my viewers may have phones that are a little bit too old. If your phone, if you hold it up and the QR code doesn't immediately bring up a link, you may have to download an app to bring up QR codes. But for now, this is how we're running it. And anyhow, without further ado, I want to talk a little bit about the Jaco area and just how different it is from Guanacaste, where I am in the northern part of the country. Really, when you get down to Jaco, you have an entirely different type of tourism altogether, and I want to sort of distinguish between those two types of tourism. So we're looking, let me share my screen here so we can get the map of Costa Rica going here. Obviously, Jaco is right down here in the middle of the Pacific coast. It's what's called the Central Pacific region. And we're up here in the northwestern Guanacaste province, just south of Tamarindo. Down here in Jaco, you have a direct, easy, I think 30 or 45-minute drive from San Jose, Costa Rica's urban, densely populated center, to come out to Jaco. For decades, Jaco has been one of the absolute favorite beaches of everyone in San Jose because it's so close and easily accessible. So, Costa Rica has about, I don't know, 70% of its population living here in the cities that make up this huge blob in the Central Valley, or the greater metropolitan area, as they call it. So these folks all come out to Jaco, and they've been coming out there for decades. One of the things that you see as an effect of that is that development in Jaco happened a lot longer before it happened here in Guanacaste, and a lot more of it has taken place. Again, let's go back to that map and look just downtown in, oh, sorry, I got lost here. We want to look just downtown in Jaco to show you what a big community it is compared to some of the smaller beach communities here in Guanacaste. So this is Jaco itself. And what you have is, you can see here a large amount of beachfront development. And specifically, you've got a ton of very tall towers. Jaco is one of the few places in Costa Rica where they permitted very tall construction right on the water. Part of that was because the development was happening long before the Maritime Zone Law was passed. And part of that is because it just became sort of an economic center for this movement. And so you have lots and lots of condo towers and large buildings. Just to quickly compare what you're looking at there to Tamarindo, it'll be tough to get a true sense just based on what we're looking at from above. But all of this on Tamarindo, the beach frontage along the ocean here, is all restaurants and single-story construction due to the national laws protecting the marine park here. Down in Jaco, you have an utterly different feeling, and that is absolutely much more of that Florida-level development. There's a Crocs casino, which is very close to the breakwater. There's a ton of really big happening tourism down there. And one of the biggest things I think is, if you're an investor considering investing in Jaco, really, it's a location that has to be something that you personally like a lot, because the extensive amount of real estate inventory there, the huge amount of rental properties that are available for sale and rent, the huge number of hotel rooms, on and on and on. In Jaco, there's just so many places for people to stay that you have to compete against a ton of people. And really, between your occupancy rates and where you have to fight for those fares on air, those rates nightly on Airbnb and VRBO, it can be very difficult to find a high-performing rental investment in Jaco that's easy to just have on autopilot. If you're planning to just park cash in Costa Rica and you want ROI, honestly, these condos in Jaco, like the Breakwater and other projects, aren't going to necessarily kick out an incredibly high ROI simply because of that balance where you have a ton of supply. Yes, you have good demand for rentals in Jaco, but the supply is such that you'll have to compete for your rentals and prices are going to be low. So if I were personally an investor looking at Costa Rica, if I loved Jaco personally and I thought the nightlife, all of the restaurants, really the beautiful scenery, if I wanted to be in a high-rise condo building right on the water, I would absolutely look at Jaco. Because there, I know that's what I could find, these ocean views that are extremely rare here in northwestern Guanacaste. We have towers in Playa Flamingo, but there are no tall towers under construction. Really, there's a limited number of taller buildings in the country that are right on the water. Jaco is a good source of them. Keep sending all of your comments. Loved it. I'm glad to thank you very much, Seaside Creations. So impressed with your professionalism. really, you've been trying to call me. I'm very sorry to hear that. I could actually guess which number you are in my phone here, because I've been receiving messages that immediately go to voicemail. You don't have voicemail here in Costa Rica. If you're writing from Sarasota, Florida, that's where I'm guessing. I've got a 941 number that's been ringing me. Anyhow, let's get back to our real estate forum. You can post listings that you want to ask me questions about. You can ask questions about real estate. And anyhow, oh yeah, it does sound like we've got the right phone number here for our guest. The next listing that I wanted to go over is actually, there are a couple of my own that I want to cover, and then hopefully if anyone wants to post a listing, we can go over a viewer one. The first one I wanted to talk about today, and I have to pull it up to check my agenda first. Yes, we have a new ocean view farm for sale in Playa Avellanas that I wanted to discuss briefly with people. And I'll ask again, if you want to check out this ocean view farm or commercial site, look to my right here with your cell phone, scan the QR code. I just listed 29 acres of land in Playa Avellanas. If you've been watching my channel, you've seen that Playa Avellanas is one of the fastest growing communities in our area. And it's really kind of a hot spot in Guanacaste because of several key factors. And that's what I want to talk about with Playa Avellanas. What makes a new community in Costa Rica become that hot spot? Where would you look for a community that was about to see explosive growth? Well, Avellanas, first and foremost, one of the key things that it has going for it is that it has one of the world's most popular surf breaks. It's surprising how essential that can be for a community, but a surf break or some source of organic attraction to a community is absolutely needed, in my opinion, or else you see these beach communities here in Guanacaste stay quiet and really not bring a lot of development. We've seen here on my channel before, I was going to try and pull up, the surf break at Avellanas has always attracted a ton of people. And now one of the key things that has very much changed is that the access to Avellanas and really the number of people who are nearby and who can get there easily has greatly increased. So first and foremost, let's go really quick to look at the Avellanas surf break here. Again, if you want to enter my 3D world here, you're more than welcome to send me an email to matt@cbpacificrealty.com. I'll send you the link to this world where you can look around and take all kinds of cool trips. But here on our 360 3D drone flight over the beach at Avellanas, and I apologize, this is actually the stationary flight here, where we can just enjoy the waves rolling in and everything. I got to go back and click on the right link here to make sure that we're flying over the surf break. But I'll show you here as we fly over this. This is the wave at Avellanas. And you can see this is unheard of 10 years ago that you would see this many surfers at Avellanas on your average moment. The beach has really become accessible to a ton of people. And right now, whereas, you know, me and my friends used to go to the Lola's restaurant right on Avellanas and sit there for hours without seeing many people show up. Now Lola's, which is actually back here in this video, is absolutely packed at sunset. When the swell is good and when there's great surf, it's packed as well, and you can barely find a seat in the place. So you've seen this attraction really open up over the years, and now it's becoming a place that went from quiet beach community to really catching a lot of interest. And another fundamental reason this has happened was absolutely new community water access. You've heard in Guanacaste that there are water issues, and water is gold here. If you have it, you can develop, property. If you don't have it, and there are a lot of areas that don't have it, you are basically, you're stuck. So Playa Avellanas recently got new water service. They were given about 450 connections, or rather, the water supplier offered 450 residential connections that could be divided up among different owners to Playa Avellanas. And I want to show really quickly how that happened. You had the Avellanas area itself has very little water. There's almost no groundwater right here. But what you saw happen was that our wells down here, which have amazing water resources, they sent a water pipeline up to Playa Avellanas because of that desperate need. The community had been begging for more service, and the ASADA, or the water distributor in Paraíso, has completed a project that extended water service up to Avellanas. So now within the community of Avellanas, you've seen a number of large parcels sell quickly. You've seen a lot of land right around here go under contract at prices close to $60 a square meter. And essentially anything that's within the Avellanas community itself now has within Avellanas itself, those 400 water connections have all been snapped up by different developers. You saw 51 of them get dedicated to the Enclave project, which is actually, sorry, I'm kind of all over the map here. There's the Enclave, and then you also had a bunch of water meters given to the point down here, and you're gonna see all of that development use up that water access immediately. To get back to the farm that I meant to talk about when I started rambling, the great thing about this property, and something you want to understand in Guanacaste, is that it falls in a geographic area that is the responsibility of a different ASADA. The ASADA that is supplying water up to Avellanas only gave those 450 connections, but there are other water distributors that can be tapped into. And specifically, in this area, there is a community water distributor in this small community called Pinilla, or San Jose de Pinilla is the complete name. And the Ocean View Farm that I have just listed is just outside of Pinilla here. We'll see if we can't get up to bring it open here on the screen easy enough. And it's funny, I don't have it in my links yet. I'll have to bring it up here using just a second. Just a moment, we'll bring up the listing on our website. If you want to know how to search our website, we can cover that really quickly. This is a farm. I suggest immediately going to the MLS function, putting in the city you want to search and the type of property, and we should see immediate results here, absolutely. The Hideaway at Playa Avellanas, here is our listing. I'm gonna remove this, and we're gonna put it up here on the screen. Here we are. Again, this is where the QR code will actually take you. You have a $1.6 million asking price for this 12-hectare or 30-acre farm just outside of Avellanas. This is a 2-minute drive or 5-minute drive just right down to the beach. You've got great ocean views. And what we had to do really in looking at the farm was consider the development potential for people. And the reason that this property has a ton of that potential is, yes, the water Yes, you have an organic source of huge interest in avellanas, and you also have spectacular views from a lot of terraces. As you come up this property, you actually have 10 different little building pads that have already been put onto the property along its ocean view ridge. And these building pads now are ready for a developer to put a boutique hotel, a spa, it could be a yoga retreat, or you could see somebody offering luxury ocean view home sites there. And the reason it provides such huge potential is that, yes, it's accessible to Avellanas, but definitely it doesn't have that same water restriction that would affect any developer who wants to purchase in Avellanas right now. So anyhow, I see we do have some more questions here. First of all, Seaside Creations, I will be looking forward to hosting you. Cool, awesome that you work for Coldwell in Florida, and we'll look forward to getting in touch. I will ask Dimitri to post my email on the screen here since you had asked for that. Next, I want to start. Do you have a chance to think of this listing? Andrew Ferguson, I see your question, but I don't see the actual listing itself. If you'd be willing to go ahead and paste that link in there. If you can't currently post the link for some reason in the chat, you could also email it to me, and I'll get on my computer over here and try and pull it up. But anyhow, again, this is my real estate forum. We're doing this weekly where you can tune in and ask me anything about a real estate listing, and I will give you my feedback. Oh, Andrew, yeah, it sounds like you're also looking at a condo as well, Andrew. Steve Hart's had a question. Are you still offering homes in the Palma Azul area? And this is another story we can openly talk about here. We are no longer offering homes for sale at Palma Azul. This was this was a pre-construction project where we were offering, homes in sort of the $200,000 to $350,000 range, and we started off with construction and launching the project a year and a half ago. So now Palma Azul, and let's see if I'm able to pull it up. Yeah, I've unpublished the listing because we don't have the homes on the site anymore because they're not actually for sale anymore. This is a perfect example of what different outcomes can be for developments. In this case, we launched the project right at the beginning of 2020 when things were just going great for the global economy, but also the delays that were caused by COVID created enormous problems in construction here, just like everywhere else in the world. We currently have the last two Palma Azul homes that were built for their customers almost ready to close. And I think their original close date, if I looked back at it, I'd be embarrassed to tell everybody when we had projected they would be finished and when they're actually being finished. But you've seen just about every kind of Costa Rica problem come into play. First, they were trying to build these two homes over the rainy season that turned out to be absolutely one of our strongest rainy seasons in 30 years. We had the supply chain issues. We've had contractors doing cabinetry doors, etc., who disappear. And guess what? After trying, now we've done probably 7 or 8 total Palma Azul homes. Everyone got tired of that. The developer himself really got frustrated with the whole process. We were trying to custom build really quality homes for everybody. And after 7 or 8 projects, now we're just going to be selling the lots going forward. As soon as we close on those 2 homes, that will be the last time Palma Azul builds for anyone. And going forward, we do have lots for sale. I was going to mention, if you're watching and interested in building a home, this is one of my favorite little pieces of land for sale right now in our area. It has an asking price of $80,000. The size is about 750 square meters, or just under a quarter of an acre. It would be sort of a fifth of an acre. And the lot is located right here in the back left-hand corner of what was going to be Palma Azul Phase 2. Phase 1 is over here, and the last 2 homes are being finished there. Phase 2 is this home and lots for sale. So honestly, that $80,000 chunk, which is back in here, one of the reasons I really love it is that you have a private gate access that's going to provide access to all 6 of the lots that are off this road here. This one being in a back corner is so super private. It's got such good isolation from the road, from, you've got neighbors on all sides. That kind of property is going to have a great security situation. You're really not going to have to worry about any kind of petty crime. Obviously you have to use common sense, etc. But I love the lot because someday you will be tucked into the back 6th of a little pod of lots where really your house would be protected by having neighbors on you on all sides. Let's see here how we're doing. Email sent with link. Andrew Ferguson has a question. Let's see. Hopefully you sent it to matt@cbpacificrealty.com. I'll check my spam filter to just see if perhaps it went there. I'll keep waiting to see what condo or building you are asking me about. Chaz asking about Avellanas, if there are any upcoming developments other than the Enclave. I would speculate that absolutely yes, there are. I don't know because I haven't represented the people who have been buying up the real estate there. But what we did do is go through the National Registry bit by bit. I mean, we went through everywhere, and now I'm realizing I'm going to pull up a link here and show you the data that we did to look at the Avellanas area for that market report really quick. Here, you'll see that going through the community, we pulled every single title, thanks Danielle, from the National Registry to get information about recent lot closings in the area. If you want us to do this kind of research for you, if you're looking for a representative who uses data to back up decisions, you're always welcome to email me. But anyhow, let's get back to talking about Avellanas. You saw among all of the properties in the area that several large development pieces have sold. And importantly, you saw that these are ones that are down by the beach. Oh, and I hadn't added the data here. So this is the data we had pulled from the National Registry. First, you can find the farm numbers, then you can pull titles, and we like to do research looking through and seeing what has recently sold. And you definitely saw that there have been large, important purchases recently. And you also saw, based on local knowledge, that they've had several more go under contract that haven't recently closed. So I guarantee you some of those pieces that have been purchased up, I'm positive that developers are buying them because Avellanas is hot, and positive that you'll see some kind of development similar to the Enclave or the Point. The Enclave in Avellanas still has homes available. The entry-level price at that development is in the $450,000 to $500,000 range. They're larger homes. Really, all of the designs are spacious floor plans, not at all compact, sort of condo-feeling places. Offhand, I guess that they're 1,800, sort of 2,000 square foot homes, but you have 3-bedroom models, you have 5-bedroom models that are really enormous, and they're located, radiating around pools in sort of a condo format. At the Enclave, they've finished one phase, they've sold some other phases, and they're starting construction on new stuff. So if you're interested in Avianas, there is definitely inventory available there as well. We'll go back here and see if we don't have Andrew's link. How frustrating. We'll have to come up with some, okay, fire sale, $2 from each. Oh, interesting. So first of all, Andrew, thank you very much for writing that. Let's go ahead and just, de una vez, we'll take a risk here and pull up point two homes and see if we can't find it just on the website itself and check it out for you. Or perhaps, actually, let me do one better thing. How about Dimitri look it up and he'll send me a message with the point two homes link. And while he's working on that, one of the things I wanted to say is that point two homes is somewhat of the bane of realtors' existence in Guanacaste for the reason that so many people put outdated listings on it. Or quite frankly, a lot of people put bait and switch listings where literally their only goal in putting something on point two homes is to get an inquiry from a customer and then start the conversation about Costa Rica real estate. If you find that you're contacting someone and 4 or 5 of their listings on point two homes are outdated, then they're definitely somebody who's not very scrupulous, or who's somebody who's probably trying to do that to you. Really, point two can be a great resource to get ideas. You'll see listings from all over the market, and really any realtor worth their salt here in Guanacaste is also putting their listings on point two just because it's free, it's easy, and we know a lot of people are using it. But do not use point two as a reliable source of information. Really, what you should do is have your realtor who's representing your interests reach out to people who are on point two and ask them about listings. Because yes, if you just start spamming realtors on point two, you will get calls back from people who are really just kind of bottom of the barrel trying to, fish for listings out there. And so, I highly recommend, first and foremost, figuring out who your buyer's representative is going to be, locking in a relationship with them. And then if you find a listing on point two, you send it to your buyer's representative and say, hey, what do you think about this? Instead of using point two as the way that you're contacting people. And oh yes, actually, so first of all, I want to react and say positively what Andrew posted here, and maybe Dimitri is going to be able to get a QR code going. First and foremost, I want to mention that I have confidence. The profile of the broker immediately popped up on the listing in point two homes. And I want to say that I immediately had confidence because I know this person, and really, I don't think that she would have posted an outdated listing. It is a listing for a $225,000 fire sale at Villas Verde 2 in Tamarindo. The Villas Verde 2 complex has a great location, and as soon as I can get back to handy dandy maps here, I will give you a peek as to what we're looking at. Down here in Tamarindo, Villa Verde 2 is nestled right into, this is going to be an interesting discussion, so just hold on for a moment. Right in the middle of town, it's a walking distance to the beach. I've got to figure out exactly, once we get in there, Villa Verde 2 is one of the denser developments, and here it is. In Tamarindo, there aren't tons and tons of condo complexes where you have more than 20 or 30 condos, and Villa Verde 2 is one of them. You've got, just like I said, a couple walking blocks down to the beach. It's an older complex where, yeah, these were all built, it had to be at least 15, if not 20 or 25 years ago. And they're very simple units, all about 1,000 square feet. The complex does not have elevators, and it has, it has 3 stories. So definitely It's not a bells and whistles kind of fancy complex. Now, looking at this particular condo, I see the word fire sale 225, or rather, that it's a fire sale for $225,000. Again, this is where you really need a buyer's broker to give you some more context on that because, yes, in the current market, I would say that a Via Verde 2 condo for only $225,000 is a very aggressive seller because units have been listed higher than that in the recent market. However, and thank you, Dimitri. I'm now seeing if you want to look at this, here's the condo. You can go to the listing profile and check out this particular condo. I, however, would like to bring up the fact that we've already pulled the titles from the Via Verde 2 complex. Now, a lot of this information is loosey-goosey. You have to pick and choose your data points and figure out exactly what is true and what's false. But most often, if you see listings that have closed in recent years, especially 2020, 21, and 22, you would actually be able to pull real data from the registry and see the comps for this condo. And just now, you can see a little bit about what I was referring to or what I was eventually going to talk about when I stopped jabbering on. Historic prices in Via Verde 2 have not been near $225,000. Now, some of these are definitely false prices or they were modified a bit, but you're seeing a smattering of where things used to close in this complex. Again, I'm not saying that this current $225,000 condo is not what you would call a very aggressive sale in the current market. I think that the other listing I would look up is going to be 279 or 295. But for people who've been watching Via Verde 2 condos for 3 years, 225 is an absolutely enormous price to pay for what it is in the context of Tamarindo's history. Now, obviously, you always have to judge where you are in a market and where you're going, etc. 225 again is a very inexpensive price for what a 2-bedroom condo should cost you currently in downtown Tamarindo. You're seeing that, really. Anything that's decent and livable in Tamarindo that's walking distance to the beach right now, a 2-bedroom condo generally starts with a 3 as a price tag. You see 1-bedrooms still selling in the 200 range. But yes, in making your decision, Andrew, and in evaluating Via Verde 2, do be advised that 3-4 years ago, those condos were selling around $150,000 to $175,000 for the nicer units. Prior to that, you saw prices even lower, and depending on the quality of the unit, things can vary a lot. Another piece of feedback I would give on Via Verde 2 is that at the very least in the current market, it is an extremely saleable piece of inventory. If you're looking to come and just have your place here for the next 5 years, picking up a Via Verde 2 condo, even at 225, you can be pretty certain that in the future, it's a condo you're going to be able to resell just because of the location more than anything else. You know, these, again, are not luxury condos, but there will not be too much more construction that's ever offered this close to the beach in Tamarindo. Again, you know, you've got quick walking access to the beach. Over here, as just an example of what's happening in the market, you know, this is Tamarindo Park, right across the street, relatively speaking, from Via Verde 2. And in Tamarindo Park, the base price for a 3 or 4 bedroom home right now is close to $1 million because, yeah, this is a gated community within Tamarindo, walking distance to the beach. That kind of inventory is just ultra popular right now. They're not going to be able to fit more of it into every square block. And again, as I mentioned in comparing Jaco to Tamarindo, in Tamarindo, you've got restrictions on height that are going to really limit literally the square footage of construction that you're ever able to have in the community. Because you can't do those 7, 10, 20-story towers on the coast, you're basically limited to 3-story construction anywhere within 500 meters of the beach. Next, we had a question from Da Chief. Is there a flip market in Costa Rica? Absolutely, there's a flip market in that there are thousands of abandoned, uncared for, really, just rundown properties. And in many cases, these rundown properties were built out of concrete, steel, and good stuff that you can use to just tear down to the shell and try and flip it. However, there are several reasons, and I did a little video talking about flips. I should go more thoroughly into it, but several factors that make it an unappealing market for flipping. One, this is a cash market for foreigners, so nothing sells as fast as it does in the US or Canada where you have mortgages. Yes, the cash market thing is changing slowly for foreigners, but still, this is a cash market for foreigners, and things don't sell instantaneously. Second of all, right now in Costa Rica, anything that would produce a big profit on your flip, a good property that a lot of people want, has probably also already been purchased. When I moved into real estate as a full-time realtor in 2017, I took a trip around with the broker then, Larry Graziano, and we saw 24 dumps right within our area. All of these properties foreigners had bought in 2000 to 2008. They had lost their money in 2009, and now somewhere along the line, their Costa Rica dream house had fallen into disrepair. Nowadays, I don't have any of that inventory left in our area. And you could find those flip opportunities, those really rundown beater houses, but they're going to be in areas where people don't want to purchase. And if anything, right now, you're seeing more concentration on the hot areas and much less of foreigners going out to explore and really get adventurous. So overall, yes, you could flip properties in Costa Rica because we've got a hot market and there are plenty of flippable things. But I think that once you purchase in cash, put your hard work in, get it ready for sale, and then try to find another person with the cash to purchase that property, a lot of people end up not being able to make the numbers work, especially when you've had such great momentum in the market here, bringing properties prices up. Will these flips be good for long-time investment? Are they permittable? That's a really good question, and a caveat I would totally add. If you're a long-term investor in Costa Rica, you have 10 times the opportunities that I think the flip people have. If you're really looking to make money by quickly turning around a property, that's where I see the problems, because it's hard to get stuff done in Costa Rica and we're a cash market. But if you're looking to pick up an old fixer-upper, really put the work in and then hold it for a while, there's a huge opportunity for return there, because Costa Rica's coastal areas are developing. Every year, there is more and more demand for property here, and it's a finite resource. So, for example, one thing that I would consider to be, let me bring up a property here that I can even mention as an example of this concept here. I'll go to my 100 footsteps to the beach listing, which, by the way, is under contract. I'm realizing I have failed to update our website, but it is under contract. This home is located very close to the beach. You can see right here, the title says it. It's only 100 footsteps down. This is titled property within the maritime zone, which is exceptional in Costa Rica. The land, it's a large 5,000 square meter lot. You're not even closed in by your neighbors. You're on this little private beach with barely anyone else. There you can see what you're looking at. But the house itself is old and beaten up. The original owners built it, I think, around 2005, thereabouts. And you can just see, looking at the tile or the couch or the fans or whatever you want to look at, the plastic in the, up there, this is a fixer-upper house. Absolutely. I would not disagree. And it needs somebody who wants to turn it into a much more valuable property. At 695, to draw a comparison, for example, you've got in Playa Langosta right now a property with 1/5 of the land and let's say 2/3 of the total construction of this property is listed for $1.1 million. And frankly, I think that property should have sold a long time ago. But at 1.1, you have, a similar sort of thing, a beachside property in Langosta. At 700, this house with, again, 5 times as much land and more construction represents exactly this kind of buy, fix up, and hold proposal for investing where, yeah, you may buy and fix it up and put $1 million into it. If you immediately tried to sell it for a good profit, honestly, I'm the listing agent in this community. I can tell you, you're not going to have an easy time just flipping it for a couple $100,000 like that. But if you buy, hold, and fix up and really just sort of patiently wait on the market, you could be looking at huge money. I mean, an acre and a third. Someday, if my community looks a little bit more like Playa Langosta and you had 5,000 meters of property, a big house, 2 cabins, you could, sell the property for millions to somebody who wanted to develop it further. So absolutely, while I don't think anybody should get into Costa Rica thinking I'm going to flip something quickly, if you want to pick up an old house, fix it up and wait, really have a patient strategy, I think you can make a ton of money because yes, there are tons and tons of old beaten up houses that, the changing of the guard happens. The foreigners who invested back in 2000 are now 75 and they're selling their house in Costa Rica. So there are huge opportunities, but mainly if you have patience to be able to wait for the right market. Seaside Creations, really appreciate all the comments about Florida. Wow, 2 years waiting on a new home settlement in Southwest Florida. I constantly, everyone complains about Costa Rica and how inefficient things are. I am always delighted to hear that things can be pretty much the same in a lot of regards in the United States. Like if you try to remodel your home, I've heard it's an absolute nightmare. Different things that have been ticking people off about bureaucracies in the US are the same everyday complaints I hear about people in Costa Rica. So maybe we're all just, complainers by nature. Chris K asks, I have a general question about condos. I'm concerned about hearing neighbors through walls, etc. Specifically, your listing above your office. Yeah, absolutely, Chris. So first of all, the building that I'm sitting in is not one where you hear your neighbors through the walls. It was entirely built out of concrete in 2009. I've stayed in the condos myself a number of times, and that particular condo only has one common wall with its neighbor. And yes, this is a palatial, extremely solid building. I work in this office, grinding it out every day, hundreds of hours a week, and I've never heard footsteps through the floor the condo above. I've never heard, really people dragging stuff across the floor or anything. This is a building where you've got thick concrete everywhere. And if you're looking at condos in Costa Rica, you'll see, generally speaking, that walls between condos should be concrete because the whole structure of the building is usually set up so that those, the structural walls are the divisions, etc. You shouldn't find too many instances where the division between condos are going to be cheap materials that will allow you to hear your neighbors. I would also comment on this particular listing above me, which is listed for $285,000. And I'm going to have to try and bring it up here. 1 second, if you would permit me. Here we are, this particular unit here. So in this particular building, you've just got construction that is above and beyond what you typically see. This is the stairwell. Here's the outside foyer. You've got just, you can tell this is a floor with 5 condos on it. There are 3 lofts here, and then there are the two bedrooms down here. The one that's for sale is this doorway. It only shares a wall with a condo that you can't see back and to the right here. And another really important thing to consider is that my community of Playa Junquial does not exactly attract loud tourists. I'm happy to say that even if these were thin walls and you might hear the neighbors if they were loud, you can really consider the location in that, if you're getting a condo in Tamarindo at a holiday time, you can be 100% certain people are going to be making lots of noise next door, and you're going to need, you're going to have exposure to a sleepless night possibility. Here in Junquial, the person renting a condo next door to you is most likely going to be somebody who's 40 or older. I'll put it that way. Or most often it will be somebody who's 55 or older, and very often you'll see the renters next door are retirees. And so at my listing, I feel absolutely confident in Plaza Tierra Pacifica telling people you're not going to have issues with noise, except for maybe whenever the condo next door is rented by absolutely the pure exception to the rule, some jerks who come in and want to make a party. Well, then, you might hear their noise. You call your estate manager, Doug, get over here and quiet these people down. But for any normal level of noise in a Costa Rica concrete building, you shouldn't have too much issues with noise from the neighboring apartment. You could always ask people, there's 3 different sizes, thicknesses of concrete block that can be used for walls here. I'm sure that comes into play. I'm not a structural engineer or any kind of scientist for that matter, but you could ask someone and try and figure out exactly what the thickness is of a condo to compare different buildings and try and evaluate. Seaside Creations, I do want to mention that I have done, I'm trying to think if I've done a video on insurance, and I specifically have not done one on Costa Rica insurance up until now. So what I'm going to do is absolutely put together a quick summary that's about 10 or 15 minutes, home insurance here, so that people can get a better idea. Quickly laid out, it's about 0.21% of the insured value, and a lot of people don't do it. But anyhow, I will be putting the link for that insurance video right here as something that you can click on. Folks, it's been a sincere pleasure. I really thank you for all your questions and everything. It's been an hour. I've got to go. Love you very much, and we'll see you next Thursday, February 16th, noon CST. Again, appreciate you joining me.